America needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion.
I have sinned against you.
How dare you!
We have no need to doubt God.
The harlot Babylon is preparing the nations to receive the Antichrist.
I didn't even build that house with money from the church. I built it with money from my book.
I don't make this stuff up.
Repenting of your sin.
It is a moral issue.
They got together and swore a pact to the devil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to
Believe It
or Not,
the show where we believe it
or not.
I'm going to say not, but
Probably not.
Something might change today. Who knows?
Yeah, actually, I think we can get behind this one in theory.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But I'm Trevor Poelman.
And I'm Damien Doepping.
Thanks, everybody, for being yourself.
Yeah, for being a bunch of swell guys and gals and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk fallacies.
Whoa, Trev. I mean, geez. I mean, I know I have a fallacy and you have a fallacy, but is this really family appropriate content for the show?
You're right. And everybody, I was watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Captain Holt called a dick pic a digital phallus portrait. I thought that was quite good. Yeah, but I figure, we get a lot of arguments online, a lot of comments online. Yeah. And I'm sure that a lot of our listeners get arguments from people.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. My thing about that is I feel like a lot of the comments and arguments we get kind of miss the point of most of what we say.
Yep. Very much so.
I mean, I guess they could probably argue that we're missing the point of what they're saying too.
Yeah.
I think we're a little more aware of that. So let's see what we have for today though.
Yeah. So I just went online. Somebody sent me a list of logical fallacies the other day, and I was like, yeah, we should do an episode on this. So figured, well, why don't I Google a list of logical fallacies? Some will have some examples of comments. You've probably heard a lot of these comments from our live stream. Our patrons would have heard some of these comments. But we'll pop them in and discuss whether or not I was right in assigning which fallacy they are. And you can throw in your opinions. I didn't find an example for each of the fallacies from our comments. But
that's fine.
We can probably talk about some from our lives and stuff like that, things we've heard before. But yeah. And Damien, I'm sure you've heard a lot of these before. But so we'll just discuss the first one, of course. One of the most famous, one of the most common arguments I think you get is a straw man fallacy.
Yep.
When your opponent oversimplifies or misrepresents your argument, setting up straw man to make it easier to attack or refute instead of fully addressing an actual argument. And so one example that I saw in the comments was, yes, indeed, I hate Muslims and gays. How did you know? So they broke down all the stuff about Christians not showing love, all this stuff, and then broke it down to, oh yeah, you're right, I hate Muslims and gays.
What?
Yeah, so I don't know this person. That wasn't the argument.
I guess I'm just more confused at how you arrive at that as that being like, aha, gotcha kind of.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're like kind of joking about that, you might just a little bit.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another one was, if I get your logic, you're arguing this. Number one, if Christianity were real, Christian leaders would be perfect, or at least really, really good. Number two, Christian leaders are flawed, or at least not particularly good. So therefore, Christianity is not real. Am I right? Did I miss something? Yes.
Why is it? Why is it an either or?
Yeah, exactly. And that's another fallacy too. But yeah, this is breaking down this to what he thinks are the bare bones of the argument, but that's not the argument at all. It's the argument of the video was that you're justified in acknowledging that people hurt you, and therefore you don't want to have anything to do with the church.
No, that's fair. I think the other thing too, it's be like the one saying that the church people should be really good. I'm like, yeah, they should be.
Yeah.
And if anything, they should be held to a higher standard, much like the police.
Yes.
oftentimes are not held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're in a position of authority and one where you hold, say over people's lives and all that shit, I think you should be held to a higher standard, and you should be a better person, and you shouldn't be a piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're propagating things that are hurting people and damaging lives and ruining people's lives, then maybe you should be called out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's calling them out. I'm never saying I know for sure that this religion isn't real or this religion is real. I don't believe they are, but nothing we do here really is to disprove it or anything like that. I feel like that's been pretty well done other places, but
that's honestly a different argument too.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know what you're talking about, and I don't think at any point you say these people are bad, therefore this is not real.
Exactly.
It's more just like these people are bad, and if you feel you need to get away, you should be able to.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll say right now, these people are bad, and I don't think it's real. So you can come at me, bro.
But I think they're ands. Like it's not these people are bad, therefore it's not real.
No,
I think it's these people are bad, and also it's not real.
Yeah. I mean, a good portion of them probably do believe that it is real, and that is how they go about their day. So I think the better argument would be is that if these people believe this to be real, they should be better people.
Yeah, exactly.
Not it is real, so therefore they are better people, or it's not real and therefore they're flawed. Because I mean, I think everyone's going to be flawed regardless, but it's how you address those flaws and what you do that show what kind of a person you truly are.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you would hope the big G upstairs would recognize that. So. We'll see.
This one is the bandwagon fallacy, or the also similar one is the appeal to popular opinion, or the ad populum fallacy. So
that loves me a good bandwagon.
Yeah. So because a lot of people believe something's real or hold this position to be true, then it's more likely to be true. Yeah. Which just isn't the case. A lot of kids believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that Santa Claus is real.
Well, I mean, he could be.
Yeah, that's true.
So I've seen those commercials. He's usually there.
That's true. He seems like
I've been
nice
to the mall. I know he's always at the mall, right?
That's true. That's a lot of evidence.
Yeah, well, he's there shopping for Christmas, right? He's trying to get the stuff before the holidays. So
he always just gets swarmed with kids, and they're like, "Oh, fine, I'll sit on this chair for a bit."
I'm trying to get this shopping done. It's like, I guess the elves will have to work overtime.
We suck.
If kids didn't want iPads and iPhones and iMacs and iToys, then he wouldn't have to do that. And they could just make a wooden horse and send it out. But no, kids got greedy, and that's why Santa's always at the mall. So
they want their fancy Etch-a-Sketches,
the eye sketch or whatever. Yeah.
This is a comment. This is a very early on comment. It's been one of my favorite. I think I showed you right away. So this is from back in December.
Yep.
Well, thanks, but I'd rather believe in the words of God given to us over thousands of years through historically provable prophets, all transcribed from scriptures that have been discovered and validated through the crucifixion of the one who spoke to them. These then printed to give us the largest selling book in human history, read and understood by 2.5 billion Christians. All this measured against a 27-minute social media video for what, 59 subscribers?
I thought Harry Potter was the largest book in history.
That's what I thought too.
Is it? I'm wondering, is this really a bandwagon one though?
Just that one part by 2.5 billion Christians.
Right. Okay. Bit. Okay.
That part is.
It's like 5 million people can't be wrong kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Begging the question or circular reasoning. So basically restating or reaffirming the premise as the conclusion without actually explaining it in between.
Okay.
Assuming the conclusion is the premise. So yeah, basically saying, I'll do just the one from this website. John always tells the truth. How do you know that? Because John says he always tells the truth. So this is like when people say the Bible's true because the Bible says it's true.
Yeah.
Like that's such a common one. How can you prove the Bible's true? Well, if you look in Timothy, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a strange thing to be like, the only real proof you have is the book that people are refuting. And it's like, that's not how evidence and facts work. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, like it's like a lot of like the bigger apologists will say, where it's like, in order for the world to have existed, it needs an all-powerful starter, and God is that all-powerful starter. And it's like, no, well, you haven't established that it needs that like power to start it.
Yeah.
But
I think that's one of my issues with a lot of those things too. It's like, well, where did this start? Where did this come from? And this is like, well, why do you need that? Why do we? Maybe it's just something we don't know yet, or we can't comprehend. But why does it have to be? Yeah. Why does it have to be God? And then also, where did God come from?
Yeah,
it's a cyclical argument. It's just like, sometimes it's fine that we just don't know.
Mm-hmm. But exactly,
we're going to go based on an evidence-based approach here, not just, well, this old book told me so. So I will say, if you could read things in the Bible and it caused cool magic spells and stuff, I'd be more inclined to believe it.
Yeah. Another one is the appeal to authority fallacy, and that ties into that too, where, well, the Bible's the authority and I'm going to appeal to that, or vice versa. They could say to you like, oh, you believe in evolution, but Darwin says this about evolution, and that kind of disproves it. So they're thinking that anything, that you're holding Darwin as the final say, or that you're holding, or you hold this one scientist as the final say, because a lot of times they appeal to authority. So they think if they can find somebody who they think that you will see as an authority, then that.
No, there was just a couple hundred years of research after that.
Yeah, exactly.
That reaffirmed and expanded upon it.
Yeah. Well, one thing they always use too with Darwin is that he said, misquote him saying that when you look at the eye, it's impossible to see that as evolving. But he was saying, like, he was, kind of saying like from our perspective, and then he went into how it evolved. So he's saying it seems like it would be hard to believe that it would evolve, but yeah.
I always find that like that's such a funny argument too. It's just like, look at a fancy Swiss watch. There's no way it could have spontaneously existed. It needed a creator. It's like, well, it didn't spontaneously exist.
Yeah.
It was something that was gradually built up over time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like man just all of a sudden was like, boop, Swiss watch. There you go. It was a gradual process of things developing, almost like what's the word, evolution.
Yeah. First it's a stick in the ground and they watch the shadow, and then they use that same thing to like it's like almost like the argument that it needs a creator because it's so complicated is actually proving the evolution side more than anything, because it didn't just happen like that. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, what do I know?
I'm just one man.
That's right. Maybe things were just like, one day it was like nothing, and then snap of the fingers, bam, it's the Flintstones. You got dinosaurs and people running around eating rock cheeseburgers or whatever.
Well, it's like, was it Family Guy? And it's like, well, now we're going to show what creationists believed. And then they just showed I Dream of Jeannie, like winking things into existence.
I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, would be.
So, yeah.
The false dilemma fallacy, presenting complex issues in terms of two inherently opposed ideas. So if one doesn't exist, then the other one must exist, is kind of the idea. Instead of acknowledging that most of all, not all issues can be thought of as a spectrum of possibilities and stances. And the false dilemma fallacy asserts that there are only two mutually exclusive outcomes.
Right.
Yeah. So like this comment we got where it says, for me as a Christian, this is a serious question that does not have only one answer. But my question to an atheist is simply that, why don't you ask yourself why the secular world is a growing mess and what you are doing to stop it? Oh, I don't know. Actually, that's a false dilemma.
I think it is. Well, maybe.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's implying that if things were Christian, things would be great. and that this is somehow just a secular world, and it's
True.
a secular problem. But it's neither of those things. If it was a Christian world, it would be just as much of a mess, maybe even more so. Yeah. And in a way, it kind of still is a Christian world. So I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody said, so what's everyone's theory on how the universe and life came into existence? Now, the science guy says it was Martians. No, he probably said that's one possibility after being asked if it could be, but not Martians, it'd be aliens. Dickey and Cross say nothing did it.
Right.
Krauss, sorry. Sammy says Buddha. Degrassi says dimensions. I'm sure these are all like just possibilities they threw out there and answer to questions, but we just don't know yet. Anyone like to add more? It's like, okay, yeah, but that doesn't
mean that it was a divine intervention. If anything, I mean, I think we don't know, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't prove that there's a divine overlord.
Yeah, it's not one or t'other. Yeah.
I mean, when they're saying that Martians or whatever, or alien life, that's less implying about how the universe was created, but more how life on Earth began, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, it looks like he's going back and forth between life, and Degrassi would say dimensions, but dimensions would be how the universe started. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are two different arguments, because I've also heard that too, that they're saying that life began on Earth, not from something that was already there, but because of like amino acids or very, very basic building blocks coming from other planets and stuff landing on Earth. And then, chance, just pure random chance.
Yeah. That's the thing, is like, when you actually like look into it, it was like, yeah, this is just a big random chance. And there's just like so much evidence that like, just lucky to be here. Like,
I don't know. I find there's something
divine.
Yeah, there's something so divine about the random chance that created life. And you know what? I'm gonna start going to the casino a lot more, because my God is Lady Luck. Lady, lady tonight. And I think all of our listeners should go and put it all on black.
Yeah.
At the roulette table. If you win, send us some money. If you lose, I guess you can't be a patron for a couple of weeks.
Exactly. And of course, the ad hominem. You attack the person and do nothing with the argument.
And we've seen a few of those in the comments. That's for sure. Oh boy.
Like this one where it says, this narrator smells like a furry, wholesome Keanu Reeves Big Chungus meme.
I mean, that one's pretty accurate, though,
that's true. I love this one.
That's not an attack, I feel.
Yeah, that's true.
No.
This one here, clearly this man is literally, not figuratively, possessed by demons. Imagine attacking a man who gave his life for us. Sick and sad, how horribly ironic. He joins in killing Christ while saying, so basically I'm demon possessed.
Did he just say you killed Christ?
Yeah, I did it.
You killed
that part's true. It was an accident.
I guess if you got a time machine, that would be the cool thing to do, is to go back and like, let's go to crucifixion. This would be pretty fun.
I was just using my nail gun and it slipped.
Yeah, he was trying to build a treehouse.
Yeah. Sorry.
And you accidentally nailed him up there. It was a huge accident, huge misunderstanding.
Started a whole religion, changed the world.
Yeah, and then the Romans were like, hey, that's a pretty cool thing to do to people we don't like. So they started doing it, right? So that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, what great way to truly invalidate your argument by attacking the person while trying to invalidate theirs.
Yeah, exactly.
Problem is, it does work sometimes.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you see that, I think that's a very common one, just any arguments you have. Yeah.
I mean, it comes from a place of desperation and people who don't truly have a leg to stand on. So, you go for the low hanging fruit. Let's go like, oh, well, let's attack this person individually because that'll invalidate them.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, I'll get things too about how, I'm not a great speller. So sometimes something will be spelled wrong in the caption, and I'll get but that's not an argument against my argument. That's just like, yeah, I made a typo. I spelled Disney wrong or whatever. Like,
who gives a shit?
Yeah. I'm a dumb idiot. That's okay.
Yeah. I don't know. That's so funny that people will try and invalidate your argument because there was a mistake in the caption spelling.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Or the anecdotal evidence fallacy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That one's pretty frustrating. I didn't pull up any screenshots, but I know for sure like I've had people tell me that they've seen miracles happen, that I've never really experienced Christ. Right.
This is my big problem with ghost stories too.
Yeah.
And I have this issue all the time, is that every single ghost story is anecdotal evidence. And there's absolutely nothing that is replicable or provable or in any way.
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem with those two is that people's memory is funny because the brain is able to change those memories and create new ones, and it's able to take stories and make them more than they actually were. Like we know this. We know that firsthand accounts are very unreliable.
Yeah, because the more you recall a story or retell a story, you're remembering the recalling of the story. You're not remembering the actual event.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And that can actually change over time too.
Yeah.
Like the more you say something and the more you say it believing it's true, you can change what the facts are and still believe those facts and make those the new facts in your mind.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if you've had
this.
Yeah,
exactly. This is true.
But have you ever had it where somebody tells you a story and then a few years pass and you can't remember whether that was something that happened to you or a story that somebody told you?
Yep.
Because like you've repeated that story so many times, or you've had that story repeated, but it's like enough time has passed. It's like, wait, was that a thing that I experienced? Or
yep.
Yeah. So
totally. The brain's a funny thing. So I don't know. That's why I take any anecdotal story like this with a grain of salt. I mean, hey, I can believe that you had experiences and there are things that you think you witnessed and whatever, but in no way is that going to convince me of anything.
Yeah, exactly.
not even a little bit. I mean, I'm someone who says, even if I experience something like that, the first thing I would do is doubt it.
Yeah, and we've had that conversation with some friends too about ghosts or about anything supernatural, about what would it take to believe, and they would give us examples, and they get so mad because you and I were like, well, I wouldn't necessarily believe it. I would try to figure out why that thing happened, and like if I have carbon monoxide poisoning, if I'm being pranked.
Well, I always get the one who's just like, if you were in bed and your bed started floating, would you believe Dan? And I'm always like, well, that wouldn't happen, first of all.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're avoiding the question. I'm like, no, I'm not. It wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And then if I did, I would look at my mental well-being and all the other factors that happened first.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Maybe call a scientist to figure out what happened.
Yeah, dear scientist, what the hell? If he came in and he'd feel, and they were like, or she, if they came in and they did science on me and they said, yeah, this is what it was. It's probably a ghost. I'll be like, okay, well, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I just know that wouldn't happen. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, this one's the Texas Sharpshooter Fallacy. I hadn't heard it called this before. I had heard it called the Texas Sharpshooter Fallacy.
Okay.
I only heard it as the puddle argument. You know, Douglas Adams' puddle argument.
I might if I heard it. It's been a while.
So the reason it's called the Texas Sharpshooter Fallacies, the story is it's about like a guy who shoots the side of his barn and then goes over and draws a bullseye around that bullet hole. So you're finding reasons after the fact for why something happened. Douglas Adams has the puddle argument, which is like a puddle wakes up and realizes that this hole is designed specifically for him. He fits into this hole perfectly. And so it's like that reverse of, no, the water landed in the puddle and conformed to that, but you do it kind of the reverse.
It's kind of like the Nostradamus effect in a way too, right? Like you're ascribing meaning to things that are not related in any way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the people
based
who say
what
that
you want to find, right?
Exactly. Like people who say that life is perfectly or the earth was perfectly created for life to exist and God perfectly created that. It's like, well, no, life exists here, but in most of the universe, it doesn't that we know of. So yeah, we got lucky. We just happened to be in that spot, but that doesn't mean that it was divinely created for us. It's, that
I guess my question with that would be is that if there was a higher being or whatever who created the whole universe or whatever, and he wanted to create life, why just Earth?
Yeah.
why just this place? Like, don't you think they would be like, let's do a whole bunch, let's fill a bunch of these planets up, like I've got this infinite expanse of galaxies and solar system. why would it just be one random little place if it was divinely created?
Exactly.
Do we have any examples of that in the comments?
Not from our comments, no. But I've had that in life, just like it's the, look at the sunset. How could that, I guess that's not really.
But we know how a sunset, like something like that. It's like, we know what makes a sunset so nice.
Yeah. Or it's like Bill O'Reilly, tide goes in, tide goes out. Can't explain that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It's called gravity.
Yeah.
Also, a sunset, like the sun isn't doing anything. It's there, and we're just moving around it.
Yeah.
What's the next fallacy?
We got the personal incredulity fallacy or the argument from ignorance fallacy. And basically, I don't understand how it works, so therefore probably doesn't work.
Okay.
There's like a fucking lot that I don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
I have no idea when I turn my faucet on where that water's coming from or how it got into those pipes. I know it does. I know there's people in the city that make that happen. I don't know how it works.
You have a general idea.
I have a general
idea,
works,
right?
Yeah, that was probably a bad example. I don't understand how my phone charges just by placing it on a pad,
Right.
I don't know. It just does it. Scientists made it do it.
Well, that's the funny thing is a lot of people will make arguments like that. And it's like, well, then you should probably stop living in society and doing anything in the modern world because chances are you have no fucking idea how any of it works. So
yeah, like somebody, and again, with the Big Bang, somebody says, somebody said they don't believe in evolution because the Big Bang doesn't make any sense. And I said, they're totally different studies.
Yeah, these are two different things.
Areas of study. It's like, that's like saying, I don't believe mathematics exists because the Big Bang doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, no, because you can't have life without the Big Bang. And I was like, no, like, I think that. I think the Big Bang probably happened, but that doesn't, like, how the universe started versus how life started on Earth, like abiogenesis, and how evolution works are all different studies. Things.
Yeah.
So
if you're looking at like the overall timeline, it's like Big Bang, and then much later, life starts. Yeah. And then after that, evolution begins, kind of thing or whatever. So these are very, I don't know.
Yeah. And so just saying, I don't get it, therefore Jesus did it. I don't know.
You know what? I'm actually, that's a really good argument. So I think I'm going to change my mind.
Yeah, we're going to start going to church.
Mm-hmm. Magnets, how do they work?
Fucking magnets. Speaking of going to church, which church should we go to? Because if it's go to the right one, you're wrong, right? So next up is the True Scotsman.
I would be, like... I think that would be something that would just worry me the whole time. It'd be like, is this the right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right version of this that I should be believing? How do I know I've got the right edition? Like, I have that problem. You ever like buy? You don't really play a lot of board games.
Yeah,
but there are some that have so many different versions of them, and it's just like, what's the best one to get? What's the right one that has the most features and things? And just something like that, it can be stressful.
Yeah. Like which is the right
life affirming belief system should I join?
Is this a fan edit? Is this the director's cut?
There you go. Same with like movie editions. Like, what is the ultimate edition to have? What is the right one to have? Which one has the most of this? What is the true vision? That's stressful enough. But something that actually, dictates the way people live their lives. Like, oh my God, jeez.
Yeah, exactly. So the no true Scotsman fallacy is like you make any sort of thing, assumption, or you make any sort of argument against something, then you get it removed one. Like, oh, that's not a true Christian, or that's not a true example here from our comments. Protestantism makes debunking Christianity so easy, but these people won't even touch the theology of Catholic and or Orthodox Church. Christianity is true. There is more to life and true path. Then the true path is not through Protestantism.
They're all based on the same fucking book, dipshit.
Yeah. And we have talked about Catholics quite a bit.
I don't understand that. I don't get that though, because it's like, yes, you have differences, but at the core, you're the exact same thing.
Yeah,
it's the same book.
Yeah, exactly.
most of the differences are very superficial, I would say. Like, it's just like how you express those beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course there are differences and nuances, yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. But when you boil it down to like its base components, it's the same thing.
Yeah, you basically have the same book. This is another comment. You are confusing real Christians with fake religious Christians.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
True Christians are Christ-like. True Christians strive to be Christ-like, but will fall short. Fake or religious Christians are all about themselves, putting on airs. Jesus warned about these, warned about religions. Religion teaches people to argue about God. Untitled should read, there are very, very few true Christians, and those still make mistakes. They still fall short. I think that'd be a long title.
That is a very long title. Also, I feel like somebody saying that they are a true Christian and they are the only one of a few is very unchristian.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's very like, I'm a special chosen one and I'm doing it right. Therefore, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Or maybe that's the most Christian thing because so many of them do it.
Maybe, but I mean, I feel like that's very unchristian. I thought it was supposed to be about like modesty and
humility.
Humility. But saying that there are only a few true Christians and I am one of them and I make mistakes. It's not being modest. That's like saying like, I have a big, huge penis and a cool car that's really fast and a super hot wife, but I know that I can admit when I'm wrong sometimes.
Yeah. I got doubles of the Nova.
Yeah. And she's real. She's great, but she's real. I didn't even want to marry her.
The next one is called the Tuku Fallacy. I had to look up how to pronounce it. I did that before an episode this time. Looked up how to pronounce something. The Tuku.
How do you spell this?
It's T-U as one word, and then Q-U-O, Q-U-E as one word.
Tuku.
But it basically means you also. So it's the you also fallacy, very similar to the whataboutism. So basically saying you do this too. So when you say, oh, this person's a hypocrite, instead of arguing against whether this person is a hypocrite, you're going to say, well, you're a hypocrite too. And give an example of why this person's a hypocrite, where that it moves the argument.
Yeah.
And just say you also this, but it doesn't actually do anything about the argument.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, it gets back to like a lot of these arguments about that, like whataboutism. It's just like, just because this is an issue doesn't mean that the argument that I'm making now isn't valid.
Exactly. And to go on with the whataboutism, here's some great comments. How about you never talk about Christians in Muslim countries where they're actually being persecuted? Right. Are we going to pretend there's not a religion that goes farther than Christianity with this?
Well, I don't think we ever were.
No.
And again, we've discussed this before. Just because it's a problem there doesn't mean this isn't a problem here too.
Exactly.
And we don't know, we don't have experience, or it's not part of our world really here.
Exactly. Yeah.
If we were in a Muslim country, then maybe we could have some more, opinions on our experiences with us.
Or if we grew up Muslim or like, Muslim adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But as it is, we didn't. And I don't know what the fuck. I barely know what I'm talking about from the Christian side of things, to be honest. And I've been very open about that, but I've also grown up in that world where it is a part of how our media and our culture has been informed. So I think having an opinion on it and kind of building those arguments is a little easier than looking at, like, I don't understand what the cultural significance of it is there. I don't understand what the significance is of that is in a different country, say. So
we probably, will talk about some,
for sure,
especially effects on, like, in North America, things like that. But I still, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I just don't feel equipped to tackle that subject yet. And I'm not going to yet.
And I wouldn't want just us making those things. I think we would need to bring someone else in to have those conversations.
Exactly. And I think we will. I think we'll get some ex-Muslims on.
Someone who can actually speak to this.
Speak to it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that's it pretty much for we got slippery slope. We all know how that works. If you let a gay guy marry, then pretty soon I'm gonna be able to marry my cat. And
I find that so funny. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yes. Somebody actually said that in one of my ethics class in Bible college, and my professor was like, "You realize," and this is at Bible college. The professor was just like blown back by that. Like, you realize you're making an argument. You're comparing it because they said somebody will marry their dog, and they're like, you're comparing two consenting adults to somebody marrying their dog. You realize how disrespectful and disgusting that is. And
I just can't believe that people actually think that is so crazy. It's a fucking insane thing to say.
It's crazy. And that's it for fallacies. Do you have any other thoughts on fallacies?
Man, there's so many of them, and I know there's so much that we haven't touched on, and so many things that people bring up that we haven't talked about too. Things we just dipped in a little bit.
Dipped our toe in.
And I think it's important to know that we have for sure made some of these fallacies. And
100%.
I think one thing that is important to note is that it's very hard not to do some of these to some degree. And I think the best that we can do is try to be aware of them and understand that we are wrong a lot of the times. And we do this stuff, but we are very open and transparent about that, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And we try to correct those mistakes when we can.
So. I think I get called out for using straw man arguments the most, I'd say. I think it's because I use clips of the most shitty people and I don't show the good people, which I guess fair enough, but it's also like I'm making arguments against what those people said. So I'm not like, I don't know. I feel like I'm the opposite in that. So I'm arguing with those. I am arguing with those points, but I just use the shittiest people.
I would also argue, though, a lot of the times we do try and note that there are a lot of good people and there are a lot of those nice people, but they are not the ones who are the problem.
Like even in the love video, I said, and if you're in a church that loves you and you feel love there, then that's amazing. Like I said those words. So.
Also, too, I think we're pushing towards power and authority, and a lot of times those power and authority are a small minority who has a lot more influence and effect over large groups of people. The people at the top, the ones who are actually influencing others, can be huge pieces of shit, even if the majority of the people are all really nice, great, wonderful people. So of course you're going to show those bad things because that's what the problem is. And that's what we're talking about. And that's what we're trying to address. So it's like, yes, I know there are tons of good people. I know that. We're not saying they're not. We're saying the people who are actually influencing all of these good people are awful.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's causing more of those shitty, stupid people to make dumb comments, right? They're not making these out of like a weird vacuum where they just think they're right and being good. They have been influenced to behave this way.
Yeah. Should we move on to a Bible study? Thank our patrons.
Let's do it.
Oh my God. Wow. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our Bible study. It really means a lot to all of us as we study this great book.
Praise him and raise him.
Praise him and raise him. Oh, amen. Thank you for that. I just want to as well I want to thank Stephen, and I want to thank Jen, as well as Jonathan and Alana, and I also want to thank Sean and Leon Hart and Holy Anonymous, Greg. I want to thank Ethan, and I want to thank Ryan. Thank you so much for all you do for us.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up and doing the best you can. And that's all we can ask of you.
Amen.
But I also would like to do a prayer request today for our friend Darren. Now, Darren knew that he had to get out to the polls last week to vote. And the thing is that Darren, he wouldn't let the old lady cut in front of him to vote before him. And Darren, I mean, you're young, you're hip, you're a cool guy. You could have waited a few more minutes, but I know you were just caught up in the fervor of doing your civic duty. But you should have done your civic duty and let that old lady go before you.
Amen. And I have a similar prayer request actually for Madison. You see, what happened here is kind of the opposite, where Madison was at the grocery store and she had a bunch of items. So she let somebody in front because they only had one item. And then she let another person in front because they only had a couple items. And then she just kept letting people in front of her to the point where she was there for 4 hours, just letting people cut in front. And we don't, we encourage kindness, but you also need to get on with your day sometimes. So just lift her up.
And I have a prayer request for our friend Robert, who was also in line at the coffee shop recently. And they decided they wanted to, pay it forward to the next customer. But I was there and I saw that the next customer, they worked really hard to make the money that they had, and they really wanted to buy their own thing. And he had bought them a coffee. And they don't drink coffee, so sometimes you got to watch how you're paying it forward.
Yeah, amen. Yeah. So I have a prayer request for Per, and also line related, as you know, right now
we're always standing in lines.
And with Per, the recommended distance to keep between people right now is 6 feet, and they've been doing 6.5 feet.
Oh, that's too much.
So the line ends up, if everybody does that, the line's going to go out the door way too quickly, and it's just going to take up more space. And at the grocery store, people are going to be lining up down the aisles, and then other people need to get that food in the aisles. So it just causes chaos.
Especially if it's raining outside too. Wow. Yeah. Well, we hope that you start following the markers on the ground and fixing that line distance.
Amen. So thank you all for coming again, and just remember, lines are guidelines,
and we need to follow them.
Let's go on to a Christian rock lyric.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
All right, so this is not a Christian rock song necessarily. This is a country song. But a very Christian country song. It's called If That Ain't God by Chris Young.
Okay.
I ain't never thought much of getting up, or the climb down the stairs to my coffee cup, or the good morning news in the background, till I heard someone talking about a kid from my town, only 8 or 9, who took a punch from cancer, but he won that fight. He hit his first home run, first time at the plate, and he pointed at the sky. And it made me think, if that ain't God, if that ain't him, if that ain't the man upstairs somewhere looking down on us again, don't it make you want to pray? Don't it make you want to live? Oh, if that ain't God, I don't know what is. I would say not giving a kid cancer would be a better miracle than giving a kid cancer and then help him get a home run. That would be my personal
view. Anything, I think the kid pointing to God when he hits a home run is more because he's seen a ton of other people do it before him and
Yeah.
thinks that's just what you do.
Exactly. And like,
it's just like, oh, well, I saw that guy do it, so that's what I will do.
yeah.
And baseball is weird for that. Baseball has got a lot of like those weird little traditions and unwritten rules and things like that. The more you're in it, it's like, well, that's just how we play the game. So,
yeah.
if anything, I feel like that's one of the worst things you could say to them, pointing at God.
Yeah. And it's like, what's the conversation in heaven? It's like, God, do you really want to give this kid cancer? No, it's fine. We'll give him the cancer. Then we'll give him a home run. And people will see that I'm God.
It'll make him a better baseball player until he dies at 14.
Yeah.
And then when he comes to heaven, he can be on our Pee Wee based softball.
Exactly.
He'll be our ringer once he's dead.
God watched Field of Dreams and he's like, we need that.
We need a good team of young dead children to take us to the Nationals.
Heaven's Little League. That's why kids die. It's Heaven's Little League. Those are, oh man, any of these arguments are so dumb. Like, oh yeah, God needed another angel. It's like, well, then make a fucking angel.
What does he need an angel for?
Yeah.
What does he need an angel for?
Like, he needs more angel butlers.
Yeah. You really need to clean the pool room. Kill another couple of kids.
Yeah.
They can really get into the crawl spaces better than the full-grown angels.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I hate it.
It's a platitude. That's what that is.
Yeah.
They're not actually thinking that God needed an angel, I guess.
No. Well, because none of this is logical. It's just like,
no.
I already have this belief, and then a bad thing happened, and I'm like, how can I keep this belief? And then he got a home run, so it's all worth it. And then
in a way, that this is kind of like what some of the fallacies we talked about earlier, right? I feel like this is like the Texas Sharpshooter one, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is. Yeah, 100%.
So
well,
I'm sure there'll be someone who actually understands the fallacies who are like, that's not that one.
I think it works. I think, because you're like, you got a home run, so this is a signal, then you're adding meaning onto it later, and you're drawing that bullseye around it later. And if you didn't get the home run, you still wouldn't make you not believe in God.
No.
Imagine it did. Oh, I know he had cancer and everything, but I was still believing in God, and then he struck out, and I'm like, oh, I guess there is no God.
God's keeping him humble.
Yeah.
I do really like the idea of God killing children for his Pee Wee softball team.
Should we make that
Little
movie?
League? Little League.
God's just like the crazy coach, and one of the angels is like, God, they're fine. With the team we have is fine. No, I need a right fielder.
It'll be like Billy Bob Thornton just yelling at a bunch of dead kids. I feel like this would be the real angels in the outfield.
Yeah.
Like, this is what the plot should have been for that movie.
Exactly.
It's not a feel-good, uplifting movie. It's a bunch of dead children playing baseball in the afterlife. You're gonna play baseball, and that's all you're gonna do. Welcome to heaven. Oh, geez. Okay. Well,
that's good.
Something to think about.
Something to think about, indeed.
If we got any backers out there who want to make this movie, hit us up.
I would love to play God. Just putting that out there. Or Billy Bob Thornton. Me or Billy Bob.
I'd like to be the umpire who's at the big game at the end.
You're out of there. Are they playing against hell?
Oh, maybe. Yes. I'll play Satan then.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, you know what? I just, it's horrible that we got these kids, but I'm trying to show them a good time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to brighten up their day. Some reason they got sent to hell.
Probably because their parents didn't baptize them.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to get them out there to have a good time. And this guy just
so
competitive. So competitive. He's just killing kids, giving them cancer so he can bring them up to heaven.
Yeah, we're making this movie.
It'd be great. Yeah.
Patreon goal. All right. Thanks everybody for listening, and like it and subscribe it and tell your friends about our movie and finance the movie.
Yeah. We're gonna start a GoFundMe for that.
Bye.
Bye.
Work, Sky Moon.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.